Welcome back to Snetterton for our third and final race of the day for the Focus Cup Championship. We've seen already two races today. The first race, it was Jonathan Baker that claimed the race win. In the second race, it was Lewis Clark that claimed the race win. For Jonathan Baker, it was his first win of the season. Lewis Clark has now had 3 wins so far this year. That's in Class 1. In Class 2, which is for the TDCI diesel engine cars, Ali Topley has claimed both wins so far today, making it 5 for the season for him so far this year. The only other driver that's won in the diesel category is Mark McCann, who has taken 2 wins. So let's see what happens in this third and final race. The grid for this one is based on their finishing positions from the race that we saw earlier on. There's no reverse grid in this one as we saw in race 2, where you get flipped in batches of 6. The grid is lining up already, and then they will head off on their formation lap in advance of this final 15-minute race for them. We've reached the halfway point of the season as well this weekend. It's a 14-round championship, and it's in reality rounds 7 and 8 that we see here, but we've had 3 races, and the reason being is that we should have had 2 races at Donington Park. That didn't happen, so the race has been carried over here. We've had cloudy skies all day. You can see a few spits of rain on the camera. That's from previous races. It looks as though it is dry out there at the moment, albeit grey skies and dark clouds around, so we can see as to whether we are going to stay dry for this one or whether we might have a few spits of rain beginning to appear again. Fingers crossed not. There's a few cars that were racing earlier on today that have subsequently withdrawn from this one, so we've lost a few from the grid that we had earlier on today. We've lost the likes of Shiv Sapra is not out. I don't think Mick Perek is out, and there's another one that is not out as well. I think there were 3 cars withdrew, yes, so we lost number 18, which is Akish Perek. We have lost number 28, which is Shiv Sapra, and the other one that is now withdrawn is car number 78, which is Andrew Freeman, has withdrawn from this one. So off they go on their final formation lap. Remember, the Class 1 cars, the ST250 petrol engine 300 brake horsepower cars, have their grid, and then there's a couple of rows gap before we then see all of the cars that run in Class 2, which is for the TDCI diesel engine 180 brake horsepower cars. So as they head off, trying to get some temperature into their control Nankang tyres, let me guide you through the grid and the way they line up for our final race of the day. Pole position goes to the race winner from earlier on today, Lewis Clark, and alongside is Ian Mitchell. He's also a race winner this year, just claiming the 1 win so far. Row 2 of the grid, John Baker, who claimed his first win of the season earlier on. Alongside him is Leo Paniotu, who's had a couple of wins so far this year. Simon Watts is on the inside of the 3rd row of the grid, and he is there with Craig Appleton. They had a really good scrap earlier on in the race, earlier on today, and Simon Waugh has Simon Walton for company on the 4th row of the grid. That's the last row for the Class 1 cars, and then it's the Class 2 cars. Ali Topley, 5 race wins so far this year, has Craig Ballantyne for company. Mark McCann, who's had a couple of wins so far this year, has got Ian Graham for company on that 6th row of the grid, and row 7 of the grid is Darren Rickaby and Adam Winter. Row 8 sees Ian Howard line up alongside Cameron Ferrero Mackenzie, and then the next row of the grid, which is going to be the 9th row of the grid, sees Gary Mitchell and Richard Hall alongside each other, followed by Abby Walton and Matthew Croft. The penultimate row of the grid, it's Cat Gray that lines up alongside Ben Pemberton, and the tail end of the order on row number 12, it's Sarah Hall and Simon Langford that line up there. Simon was on the grid. His car did retire earlier on, but I did spot his car down towards the tail end of the field. So it looks as though all of the cars that we were expecting have made it onto the grid. 27 started at the beginning of the weekend, but 24 we've got for this final race, with those 3 withdrawals for whatever reason. So the cars making their way around the Snetterton 300 circuit. We have still got plenty of racing to come this season in the Focus Cup, with further races to come. 2 races at Halton Park, that's the last weekend of June. The Supercar Pageant race meeting up there on the 28th of June. Then I'll move to Croft in North Yorkshire in August for rounds 11 and 12 of the championship, the 23rd of August. And the final racing weekend is back where it all started. It's back to Donington Park, but on the national circuit on the 20th of September. We're hoping that we will have further swelling of the grid as well in terms of the Class 1 cars, because I know more cars are in build up at the Focus Cup HQ and Swan Flight's workshops up in the northeast of England, and the introduction of the ST250s has been a good addition to the championship. So the diesel engine cars are the focuses from sort of 2007 to 2010, 6-speed manual gearbox in those cars, and then the introductions of the ST250s is for the car body shape from sort of 2015 through to 2018, the newer shape. What's it called? The Mark 2.5, I think it was called, or Mark 3.5 of the Focus. So they're all making their way around the circuit. You see at the tail end of the order there is the white and the pink and the purple car of Simon Langford. He'll be hoping for better fortunes. But Lewis Clark proudly carrying the number 1 as the 2024 champion. He was also the 2023 champion. He'll be hoping that he can convert pole position to another race win and try and make it 6 for the championship season. And will be pushed hard, I would have thought, in this one by the likes of Ian Mitchell. John Baker's had some good pace. Leo Paniotto, not quite the same pace that we've seen from him earlier on this season. He just seems to maybe not quite have gelled with the Snetterton Circuit. He's not been slow, don't get me wrong. He had a 3rd in the first race and he had a 4th in the second race, but he's not been battling for the race wins to the same degree. But he'll hope that he can leave Snetterton on a high and head up to Alton Park up there in Cheshire at the end of this month. Well, it's only another 4 weeks away and they'll be up there racing, or 3 weeks away actually, they'll be up there racing for the next couple of rounds. So there is the Go Big car of Simon Langford at the tail end of the field. Nice and easy livery to spot on that one. Just works well, doesn't it, on that car. He will be the last of the cars to come into position. We've got 15 minutes on the clock. We've got the last row of the grid just about to come to a halt. There's a windscreen wiper going on Ian Mitchell's car, which hopefully doesn't mean we've got spits of rain in the air still, because we want this one to be a neat and tidy race. So the final race for the weekend of the Focus Cup Championship. Green flag at the tail end of the field. The 5-second board just gets held aloft now on the starter's gantry. The red lights will come on, and when they flash their way out, we'll be away and racing for the final time today. The lights go out. It's not a bad start from Lewis Clark from pole position. It's a good start also from Ian Mitchell from the second row of the grid, but Lewis Clark is going to lead the pack up towards Ritchie's for the first time, with Ian Mitchell slotting himself through into second place. It's John Baker in 3rd place, Leo Paniotto's 4th, ahead of Simon Watts in 5th place, and Simon Waugh goes wheel to wheel with Craig Appleton as they head round through Ritchie's for the first time. Alistair Topley has got a good launch in Class 2 for the diesel engine cars, and he is leading that in the early stages from what will be Craig Ballantyne in 2nd place, and both of those two have got a little bit of a mini breakaway in the early stages from Mark McCann, who's 3rd of the Class 2 cars at this stage. Matthew Croft has gone to the rear of the Class 2. So he's lost a few places off the start and has had his pocket picked by the likes of Cat Gray and Ben Pemberton and Sarah Hall. Simon Langford, of course, off the tail end of the field, having retired earlier on, looking to try and make progress as well. Lewis Clark leads the way, though, as they head through Agostini for the first time, and then up towards the left-hand kink at Hamilton. We've squeezed 7 laps out of the 15-minute allocation in the 2 previous races. They've all gone without any real incident. Let's hope that the final race of the weekend does as well. Onto the brakes, you can see Craig Appleton still sort of having the car move around on him, as the Nankangs still aren't quite up to temperature. It's not particularly a cold day out there, but it's not as warm as it ought to be for this time of year. I say it may well be that there's still a slight bit of moisture here and there on the circuit, but it largely looks dry as the cars propel themselves down the Bentley Straight for the first time. Lewis Clark leading the way at the wheel of the number 1 car, and looking to try and make it 2 wins out of 3 this weekend. For the diesel category, the number 41 car in Class 2 leads the way, which is Alistair Topley from Craig Ballantyne, and then Mark McCann starting to have a little nibble at him. 4th in the Class 2 car is going to be Ian Graham at this stage, as they turn their way through Brundle and through Nelson. Just working their way out of Nelson and down the short straight. There goes the number 7 car just going through, which is that Sarah Hall that's jumped into the number 7 car, I wonder. I think it might be, possibly. So maybe a change of car there. That's the thing in Focus Cup, they do swap cars, they bring spares, so if you have a problem with your car, you can hop into a spare car, so you still get what you pay for in reality, which is 3 races for this weekend. Over the start finish line now come the top 3, breaking away a little bit from Leo Paniotto, who sits there in 4th position. Simon Waugh has fallen away from the rest of the ST250s and is about to be overtaken by Ali Topley's car. And then the battle for 2nd in Class 2 is Craig Ballantyne fighting away with the YouTube liveried car in the hands of Mark McCann, who runs a little bit wide coming out of Ritchie's corner, and that's largely because Simon Waugh has got some troubles at the wheel of his car. You can see flames coming from the tail end of the Ford Focus. I think he kills the engine, and therefore those flames extinguish themselves, but his car clearly has a problem. and he does absolutely the sensible thing and parks it well and truly out of harm's way on the inside of the Wilson hairpin. Marshall on hand just to go and check that everything is all right. And say, thankfully, those spits of flame out of the exhaust soon stopped as and when he turned the engine off. So I think, yes, Simon just discussing with the Marshall as to is everything all right, and the thumbs up will be given. Kat Gray having a good little squabble. She's fighting away in her number 47 car, the Powerflex car with Abby Walton. Abby had a brilliant result. She was 5th at Brands Hatch last time out in the final of the races, her best result. She was massively happy with the way things went, and she's looking to try and wiggle her way through the order if she can. Kat Gray just ahead of her at the moment at the wheel of the Powerflex machine. The Swan Flight sort of purpley pink and green car of Abby Walton right with her, and then on their coattails is Ben Pemberton, and then just off that is going to be the orange and yellow car, which will be Matthew Croft. So they're fighting away for the final few places, but you can see even right the way down towards the tail end of the field, there's always some great battles go on in the Focus Cup. Out of Williams they'll come onto the Bentley straight on their second lap of the race. The rest of the pack are all charging their way down towards the far end of the Bentley straight, through Brundle and through Nelson. Adam Winter looking to try and make some good progress. He's not had the best of weekends, I would say, Adam Winter. Simon Wall's car got going again and has now come to a halt again by the look of things, and it's come to a halt at the very edge of the circuit. He was in a safer place where he was originally parked up, and now he has disappeared from where he was. That is a car that is not quite safe anymore, so the marshals will try and assist, and hopefully they'll be able to push him back towards the barriers, but that will be covered by localised yellow flags for the moment. And then you can see, well, the car has been abandoned for the moment at the side of the track, and Simon Wall's out of the car and safe up against the barriers, but the car is on the very edge of the track, which begs the question at this stage as to how the officials want to deal with this one. Race continues for the moment with just localised yellow flags, but no, out come the safety car boards. I'm not surprised. Now, Simon Wall would have been blissfully unaware. He wouldn't have been able to see exactly what had caused the problems with his car, because he probably didn't see the flames that were coming from the tail end of it, and understandably, alt control delete reset itself, the car fired up again, he tried to drive it away, and unfortunately it faltered on him again, so it's a terminal failure for him, and the safety car boards are out. The safety car is on standby. It will pick up the pack next time through, and then we'll get the recovery vehicle on hand to scoop up the car. But it's only a 15-minute race. It should hopefully be a fairly quick recovery off that car, because they can hopefully just tow it out of harm's way and then tuck it behind the barriers, and then we should be able to get maybe just one lap behind the safety car. So safety car boards will be out for 2, the lap they're on now, then the safety car will come out, and I think, yeah, already on hand are the recovery unit, who will work very quickly at getting this car out of harm's way. And as you see, there is a gap in the barriers there, so they don't need to tow it very far at all. So I think it would just be when the safety car joins the circuit to pick up the race leader, which is just edging out of pit lane now, then should just be a single lap behind the Hyundai Ionis 5 safety car, which is the electric safety car. Hyundai, the partners nowadays, the manufacturer partners for MSV circuits. So they will pick up the pack. Hyundai supplying not just the safety cars, but all the course vehicles nowadays. So if you come and do an ARDS test at one of the MSV circuits, it would be one of the Hyundais that you're driving. So that backs the pack up, and for Lewis Clark, for Ian Mitchell, for John Baker, for Leo Paniotu, they will look to try and get things back underway very shortly. So Simon Wall's car tucked behind the barriers, say a driver who has been ever present in the Focus Cup, hasn't done every single round, but has largely at least done a few rounds in every single season since the championship first appeared in 2019. That car is now out of harm's way, so it will, I'm sure, just be this one full lap now behind the safety car, and then when the safety car peels its way back into the pit lane, then we'll be able to go racing again once more. But for the moment, we've got a full 2.9689 mile lap, not quite 3 miles around the Snetterton 300 circuit, but within a whisker of it, to complete behind the safety car. So let me just run you down through the order again whilst we remain under safety car. Number 1, Lewis Clark leads the way from 81, Ian Mitchell. John Baker, number 10 there in 3rd place, and 4th is 29, which is Leo Paniotu. 5th is the number 5 car of Craig Appleton. 6th is number 23 Simon Watts. 7th place is the leading car in Class 2 for the TDCI engine cars, which is Alistair Topley. Craig Ballantyne is next up in that class in 8th place overall, and Mark McCann, who just heads through shot now in the silver and red car, is the driver that completes the top 3 in that category. Ian Graham is right behind him. Then it's the car just heading through shot now, which is Darren Rickaby. He is followed by the number 7 machine, which must be Sarah Hall. It's been renumbered. Sarah was running number 21 earlier on, but Hall is the surname, and therefore, as the basis she's the only Hall that's entered, it must be Sarah that's there next up. Cameron Ferrero Mackenzie is next up. He is 7th overall in the TDCI class, Class 2, but 13th in the race. And then it will be Ian Howard, followed by Gary Mitchell, Adam Winter, Simon Langford, who's made really good progress off the back of the grid. Where did he start? 24th. He's now up into 17th, so that's not bad, is it? After what was really just 2 laps of racing. And then it's Cat Gray from Abbey Walton, and Ben Pemberton completes the top 20 at this stage. So safety car should extinguish its lights fairly shortly. It's usually at the end of sector 2 where the lights go out, but I think when we get to the end of the sector 2, lights are still on for the moment, so I'd imagine towards the bomb hole and Coram is where we see the safety car lights go out, if it's going to come in at the end of this lap. Ali Topley still doing the sensible thing in the Class 2 cars of leaving a little bit of a gap between himself and the Class 1 ST250s, which will allow him to accelerate into that gap as and when we get things back underway. We haven't fully got the crocodile formed as yet, because there's still, I think, Cat Gray needs to catch up with the rest of the pack, but she's almost there, so by the time they get back round, we should there or thereabouts be ready to go racing at the end of this one. So Lewis Clark is about to get the race back underway. The safety car is going to peel its way in towards the pit lane, and then we get things back underway. Over the start finish line now come. So through they'll go, and Lewis Clark gets the race back underway and gets a good restart, actually. Enough of a gap between himself and Ian Mitchell so that he's not overly under pressure as they head up towards Ritchie's this time through for Class 2 honours. Ali Topley still leading the way from Craig Ballantyne, followed by Mark McCann. Mark McCann, remember, is the only other driver other than Ali Topley that's claimed a win in Class 2 so far this year. What can Craig Ballantyne do? Well, the answer is be very defensive on the run in towards the braking area for the Wilson hairpin, because he's got the silver and the red car right behind him. Then just off that is going to be Ian Graham. He drives the green and grey number 27 car, and then it will be Darren Rickaby at the wheel of the ABS liveried car, the white car with its Union Jack livery down the side of it. So they flick their way through the left-hander at Palmer. Craig Ballantyne a little bit off the apex there at Palmer, which might just put him under pressure as they head in towards the braking area for Agostini. Craig Ballantyne is right alongside him and is looking to see whether he can just hang on to the place. And he does just about hang on to it from Mark McCann. So he had a better run coming out of Palmer because he did apex beautifully, but I think he's going to squeeze his way through here. Yes, he does. Up into second place in Class 2 goes Mark McCann, keeps it within the confines of the circuit as well as they head through the flick at Hamilton. Craig Ballantyne down into third, and now coming under pressure from the green and the grey number 27 car of Ian Graham that sits directly behind him. They start to build a bit of speed as they head up towards Williams, and as I've said before, it's so important to get a good exit coming out of Williams, that you get on the power nice and early, don't lift back off it, try and get the momentum all the way down the Bentley straight and see if you can pick up a spot as you head in towards the braking area for what is a difficult braking section through Brundle and Nelson down at the end of the straight, because again you're trying to brake and rotate the car into the left-hander at Brundle, whilst you're then having to then brake again and move the car over to the right-hand side at Nelson. There's a big sausage curve on the apex, of course, you want to avoid, and you can't afford to run wide either. Race control telling us the race is going to be extended by 5 minutes, so that is good for the Focus Cup. And again, another place might be picked up here. Gary Mitchell has got right the way around the outside of him Simon Langford, who makes it stick as well, so Simon Langford gains another place. Gary Mitchell, who's again been very successful in this championship in the past and is one of the fundamentals behind the maintenance of these cars, is Gary Mitchell. Doing a good thing. Gary was runner-up in the 2021 championship, having finished runner-up the year before in 2020 as well. Class 2 leader Ali Topley over the start-finish line. So up to second now in Class 2 comes number 64 Mark McCann, from Craig Ballantyne. Further back through the order, we might have a change for position. Darren Rickaby fighting away with the number 7 car. So it can't be Sarah Hall, because Sarah Hall is driving the number 21 in this one. So there must be a message somewhere on the WhatsApp group that I've failed to pick up on as to who's jumped on board that number 7 car for this one. But place has been gained. Must be Richard Hall. It must be Richard Hall, mustn't it? So he's jumped out of the number 99 and is now on board the number 7. So that is a change of car for him. So finally worked it out. I did say there was only one Hall entered, but there's not. We've got 2, haven't we? So it's Sarah Hall and Richard Hall. No relationship between the pair of them. So Richard Hall picks the place up from Darren Rickaby. So that will now put him up to 5th in the class and 11th overall. 6 minutes of the race to go. Lewis Clark leading, but the fastest lap of the race went last time through to Ian Mitchell. 2 minutes 12.519. So he'll be pushing hard, and then further down through the order, Adam Winter going wheel to wheel with Cameron Ferreira-McKenzie. And as they work their way through the flick at Hamilton, something had to give, and it was Cameron Ferreira-McKenzie having to briefly take to the grass. Rejoins and actually then gains the place as they head up towards the braking for the right-hander at Oggies. Short little straight that brings them up towards Williams and then onto the Bentley straight. So Ferreira-McKenzie gaining the place. Adam Winter, who lay 3rd in the Class 2 Championship standings coming into this weekend, has had a few 3rds and a few 4ths, has had a consistent weekend previous rounds, but just doesn't seem to have had the pace for whatever reason this weekend. He finished 12th in Class 2 earlier on today, and in the second of the races, where did he finish in the second of those 2 races? He was 6th in Class 2. For the lead of the race though, Ian Mitchell looking to try and work his way right the way around the outside at Richie's corner of Lewis Clark for the lead of the race. He's on the outside line now as they head up towards the Wilson hairpin, so Lewis Clark should have this one covered off. Ian Mitchell realises that it's not quite going to work there, so tuck myself back behind, try and minimise any time loss, and then try and mount another challenge elsewhere around the lap if he can, or at some point in the next 5 minutes or so. So they're on lap number 7 as it is at the moment. So the race has been extended by 5 minutes. We've got ability in the timetable to do that today, because everything has largely gone to plan. We've had some tricky conditions, but not just in Focus Cup, in all of the supporting races to Focus Cup, we've had very little delay. And even in the tricky conditions, everybody has largely driven to them. I don't think we've really had an incident all day so far. Hopefully that'll be the case for the next 4 minutes or so. Lewis Clark, though, feeling the pressure. Ian Mitchell would dearly like to try and grab his 2nd victory of the season if he can. He won the first of the 2 races at Snetterton on the national circuit when we were there on the 19th of April. And again, he is looking as though he's got good pace here at the wheel of the number 81 car that sits there in 2nd place. Onto the Bentley straight they will come. So it's Lewis Clark from Ian Mitchell. Jonathan Baker, the race 1 winner from earlier on today, sitting there in 3rd place. Leo Paniotu on for a good points haul again. As I say, he's had a 3rd and a 4th, and he's 4th again here, but he's not quite had the pace that we've seen him at previous rounds, where he's largely finished 1st or 2nd or 3rd as a worst. But 3rd as a best this weekend from him. See the tail end of Ian Mitchell's car moving around there as he was on the very edge of Adhesion, asking a lot of the tyres, as he then threads the car through Coreham and up towards Murray's. Again, a very difficult part of the circuit. Again, you're turning right through Coreham, but then you also need to brake whilst you're still trying to turn and set the car up for the left-hander at Murray's, which is an important corner again to get a good exit off it. Further down through the order for 4th in Class 2, number 27, Ian Graham, has got Richard Hall right behind him in the K&N supported car, having switched over cars. He was in the green and orange one, wasn't he, earlier on today? It's now a K&N backed car that he's jumped on board to for this final race of the weekend. As I say, they always bring us a couple of spare cars, so that if you have any issues with yours, yes, they can still fix it. If it's fixable, you'll go back out in the same car, but if it's something that might take them a bit longer and there's any question mark over it, hop into the spare. You still get to enjoy your racing. Ian Graham, I would say, a little bit slower just coming out of Murray's, so Rich Hall might just close up a little bit here as they head over the start-finish line. Class 2, number 41, Ian Ali Topley still leading the way. Say he's been the man to beat all season really in Class 2. Diesel engine cars, very different way you drive them. You don't need to rev them to the same degree because the torque of the engine will allowing you to do it. You don't go right the way through the rev range like you were doing the petrol engines ST250s. Further down through the order, Ian Howard has now got the charging Simon Langford closing in on him. He's bringing Adam Winter together with him as well. Gary Mitchell is still trying to fend off the aspirations of Cameron Ferrero Mackenzie, who is looking to try and do good things here. So up towards the braking area for Murray's. They all go onto the brakes. It was a bit of a sideways moment for Adam Winter ahead, who, at the wheel of the grey Swan Flight car, just got a little bit sideways mid-corner there. That would have scrubbed off a little bit of speed, but it didn't really compromise his exit speed coming out of the Wilson hairpin. So Gary Mitchell doesn't particularly close up, neither does Cameron Ferrero Mackenzie, as they start to work their way up towards the braking area for Agostini. The race leaders will be somewhere on the Bentley straight, and I think there's just enough time on the clock for Lewis Clark to complete this lap and start another one. So I think they'll all be on their penultimate lap at the moment. But all the way down through the order, the fights are still raging, as they will do when we head to Alton Park on the 28th of June and then to Croft on the 23rd of August, and the final championship rounds taking place, as I mentioned earlier on, at Donington Park on the National Circuit on the 20th of September. So out of Williams, onto the Bentley straight goes Ferrero Mackenzie. He is 10th in Class 2 at the moment. Class 2 lead still going the way of Alistair Topley. You can see he's at the tail end of a bit of a train of cars still just heading down the Bentley straight. Adam Winter in the grey car weaving around in the mirrors of Simon Langford to see if he can prise the door open, and he might do it here. He's got the outside line for Brundle, but he's not quite going to clear Simon Langford in time. So Simon still hangs on to the place, as out of Palmer for what will be the final time comes our race leader. So on to the last lap of the race goes Lewis Clark, looking to try and scoop up 2 wins here today. He finished 4th in the first of the races. The grid for that was set based on the qualifying times and what was an awful qualifying conditions. It was so wet. There was a huge downpour this morning, and it was so wet that for the first couple of laps of qualifying, all of the Ford Focus Cup cars were behind the safety car. It just wasn't deemed safe enough. There was too much rain, too much standing water to allow them to set their own qualifying time. So a couple of laps behind the safety car to acclimatise the drivers to the conditions, and then they were released for qualifying. But it did, of course, shorten the ability to set a lap time in qualifying. Simon Langford under pressure from Adam Winter, who might this time have got the job done. No, he can't quite get there. Can he get the undercut coming back out of Ritchie's? No, he can't, so he's forced a little bit wide. He's all over the grass. Following him off goes Cameron Ferrero Mackenzie. They rejoin, having rallycrossed their way through the exit of Ritchie's corner. And now for Simon Langford, he's been picked off by the look of things by Gary Mitchell, and Adam Winter is still trying to squeeze his way through, and he's trying to make it 3 wide heading up towards Palmer. 3 wide won't work, so somebody's got to back out of it. That's Simon Langford, who thinks, hang on a minute, this is getting tight. I'm just going to sit behind them and see whether I can wiggle my way through elsewhere around the lap. He looks one way on Adam Winter and isn't going to work there, but for the race leaders, they are already out of Murray's in the final corner, and Lewis Clark is on course to make it 4 wins so far this season. The reigning champion, the double champion, the back-to-back champion, claims another win, which keeps him at the top of the championship tables. And he's actually extended his lead over his championship rival Leo Paniotto over the course of this weekend. He claims the win. In second place is Ian Mitchell, John Baker's third, Leo Paniotto fourth, Craig Appleton is fifth. And then further down through the order, we've still got the squabbles going on in Class 2. Gary Mitchell runs a little bit wide, so Simon Langford has picked up another place this time through. He's going to be up to 7th in class. Having started, what was it, 24th, wasn't it, he started. He's going to be up into certainly 14th, maybe even 13th by the end of this one. Ali Topley, the diesel leader, will come over the start-finish line in the Class 2 car very shortly, because he's just coming up towards the braking area in his power-maxed car. For Murray's, he accelerates his way towards the start-finish line. It's going to be a clean sweep of wins for him. He claimed back-to-back wins in the 2 races that we had at Brands Hatch. Well, he's going to claim all 3 races in Class 2 here at Snetterton in Norfolk. He comes through to claim the win in Class 2, finishing 7th overall. Mark McCann will finish next up. And is Rich Hall going to pick the pocket of Ian Graham on the run to the line? I think he might, you know. So that will be Rich Hall, who has picked up a time penalty, it'd be fair to say. So on corrected times, it's not going to matter. that he is just going to come through and grab the place, but actually finishing third on corrected times in Class 2 will be Ian Graham from Craig Ballantyne, and despite being ahead of both of those cars, the 5-second penalty, I'm afraid, drops Richard Hall down to 5th in Class 2 in the end and 11th overall. He wasn't the only driver to pick up a 5-second penalty, because also number 37 Ian Howard did, so on corrected times he also gets 5 seconds added to his race time, which drops him down into something like 8th in Class 2 in the end. So the last few cars just working their way over the start-finish line, which includes Abby Walton, who did get the better of Cat Gray in the end. Those two cars just coming through now, and then a few more cars to take the checkered flag. The next up should be the car of Ben Pemberton, who is about to come through now, followed by Matthew Croft, and then I think that is pretty much everybody over the start-finish line once we've got Matthew Croft through, because finishing off the lead lap in the end was Sarah Hall at the wheel of the number 21 car. Let's confirm the results for you then in our third and final race for the Focus Cup here at Snetterton in Norfolk. Say the next round's coming up at Alton Park shortly. It is Lewis Clark that claims the win, his second of the day, with second place going away of Ian Mitchell. John Baker, the race 1 winner, finishes in third place, and Leo Panayiotou, good championship points for him, in fourth place, but wasn't really fighting for the wins today. Craig Appleton was fifth ahead of Simon Watts in sixth place, and Alistair Topley wins Class 2, finishing in seventh place ahead of Mark McCann and Ian Graham, who complete the Class 2 podium. Craig Ballantyne wrapped up the top 10. As we move outside of the top 10, in 11th place it was Richard Hall from Darren Rickaby and Adam Winter. Then next up it was going to be Ian Howard, who finished in 14th position ahead of Simon Langford 15, and Cameron Ferrero Mackenzie was 16th. Gary Mitchell 17th. Abby Walton and Cat Gray had a good race long battle for 18th and 19th. Ben Pemberton finished in 20th position. Then just outside of the top 20 in 21st it will be Matt Croft that finished in 21st position, and Sarah Hall finished in 22nd. One non-finisher was the unfortunate Simon Waugh, who brought about that brief safety car period, but hopefully we'll see him back out and in better form at Alton Park next time out. So that's it from Snetterton and the Focus Cup. We will be out next time at the 28th of June at Alton Park, so if you've enjoyed the racing, why not join us there? So from everybody here at Snetterton, myself, Mark Werrell, Focus Cup On-Side Productions, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.